This is how I would rank a vehicle wrapping company. So first thing we're going to go over is the Google Business Profile. For this, we're going to talk about the primary category. Then we're going to go into naming the Google Business Profile or the name of the business displayed on the Google Business Profile. Then we're going to talk about citations. Then we're going to talk about social profiles. Next, we will talk about photos, videos on the Google Business Profile. Then we'll go into optimizing the Google Business Profile. So for optimizing, we're going to talk about services. Then we'll talk about putting descriptions. Then we'll talk about by vehicle type. Then we'll also talk about by make. An example of this would be Tesla. Then we'll talk about being a service area based profile versus a verified address Google Business Profile. Then we'll go and talk about the website for the vehicle wrapping company. So on the website, we are going to talk about first doing keyword research. We'll also talk about building a campaign. For this keyword research, we're also going to talk about by your area, like geographically. Are you near the coast? Are you on the west end of the United States? Because this does have an impact on the types of services you're going to see high volume with, right? So in Arizona, in California, you're going to see higher window tints coming through than if we're, let's say, like in the Gulf of America or the Gulf of Mexico near Florida, we may see more boat wraps. So we're going to talk about your kind of niche services by location. Then we're going to talk about make terms. And what that means is Tesla wraps as an example. Then we're going to go into your competitor analysis. Then we're going to talk about the backlinks / press releases. Then we're going to go into linking structure. This will also have a subcategory for services. And then we'll also have one for makes. So an example would be Tesla. Then we're going to talk about doing blog content. Blog. Then we're going to talk about making our money pages. Then we're going to talk about your domain name, having a static HTML versus JavaScript. Then we're going to talk about doing on-page optimization. Then we will talk about vehicle and make pages. Okay. So first thing for a vehicle wrapping company, the Google Business Profile. So for the vehicle wrapping company on the Google Business Profile, the first thing we want to look at is your primary category. Or when I'm going to rank a vehicle wrapping company, this is the first thing I look at is the primary category. If this is a already set up Google Business Profile, like you're coming on as a client, then I will look at this and be like, okay, what is it currently? Does it best match the services or the products or what your business is about? So oftentimes I'll see sign shop as the primary category. If your primary services or products come from being a vehicle wrapping company, we need this primary category to be vehicle wrapping service. So if I'm setting up a new Google Business Profile for a client, this is the primary category I would have. If they already have a Google Business Profile and their primary category is something else, then I will change this to vehicle wrapping service. Next, we're going to talk about the name. So if I was setting up a new one, and let's say that my LLC documents or my incorporation documents didn't have a keyword in the name, what I would go and do before I set up my Google Business Profile is I'd go file a DBA with the state to add a keyword to my business's name. So let's say it was my first name and then it was just LLC. I would get a DBA to change it so that it was Chris's, and then that would be my new name. Now, let's say that your current Google Business Profile doesn't have a keyword in the name. So if you were my client, I would advise you to, again, file this DBA and then get a keyword like wraps or tints in that Google Business Profile name so that we can rank your Google Business Profile higher in search for those keywords or those terms when people are going to search for the products or services that you offer. So again, if yours was Chris's, let's say it was Chris's shop, I would advise you to file a DBA, and then we would get that changed or amended to Chris's wraps. So for citations for a vehicle wrapping company, if this was mine or a client coming on, what I would do is I would go and get the business or my business listed on all these platforms. So BBB is Better Business Bureau. You can go and get a free listing. We can also go and get on Yelp. Then you're also going to want to get on all of the social platforms like Facebook. We've got X or Twitter. You've got Instagram. You've got LinkedIn. You've also got Pinterest. And then you have TikTok. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you also have Then you need to go and get on Apple Maps. Then we also need to get you on MapQuest, on your local chamber of commerce. Then we need to get you also listed on directories, right? All of these need to have a very consistent name, address, phone number, and then all of these also need to have a link back to your site. If all of these, let's say you're already an existing vehicle wrapping company and you come on as my client, what I will do and what we need to do, or if you're not my client, what you need to go and do is we need to go and fix all of these so that they all have consistent name, address, and phone number, then a link going back to your site. So now all of the social profiles that you would need as a vehicle wrapping company. Now, if I was just starting out or if you were coming on as my client, what I would advise you to do, what we would go and do is we would create one on all 7 of the platforms that you are allowed to link to from your Google Business Profile. All 7 of those are going to be YouTube. On YouTube, in the About or on the homepage, on the channel page, there is a whole bunch of other links that we can set as well. So we can not only link to your website, we can also link to all of the other social platforms that you have. And YouTube is another Google asset. Google owns YouTube. And so we want to make sure that everything is properly linked together or interlinked. Then we've also got Facebook. We've got Instagram. We also have the TikTok. We've got the LinkedIn. We've got Pinterest. And then we have X or Twitter. Now, even if you don't plan on posting, we still need to be on all of these social platforms with a bio. And in that bio, we need a link back to our site. And on all of these, we need to have a consistent name of the business, a consistent address for the business where we're currently located. We need the consistent phone number and then a link going back to the business, to our site. So now we're going to talk about photos and videos for the Google Business Profile. So on your Google Business Profile, you need a higher photo count. Or what you need to do is you need to set a rather like weekly or a monthly cadence on when we're posting photos. Not only is this going to help rank the Google Business Profile, but this is also a conversion rate thing that can help when prospects or clients or people looking to get their cars wrapped can go and look at your previous work, right? They search locally for vehicle wrapping company into Google, and then they're instantly hit with all of these high quality photos showing previous jobs. Not only that, we also need to get videos as well on the Google Business Profile. Videos are hugely underestimated and can help convert a lot of clients or a lot of traffic on the Google Business Profile. Not only does it help convert, but it is also another ranking factor. And what that means is that whenever someone searches for vehicle wrapping company, they're going to get this little 3-pack in search. There's going to be this little map on the right side. What we can do is by posting more and a whole bunch of other things that we need to do on the profile, we can start placing you higher and higher up on this so that your map pack ranking is getting you more and more leads. So now we're going to talk about optimizing the Google Business Profile. So for optimizing the Google Business Profile, we've got to list services. For these, we're going to do by vehicle type. So like truck, we've got SUV, then we've also got by boat, then we've also got by make. So Tesla, we've also got some exotic cars as well. Now, this is something that I would do if I was setting up a new Google Business Profile for a vehicle wrapping company. This is also something that I would go and look at my clients currently set up Google Business Profile and see what are they doing. What we want to do is we want to start targeting keywords or search terms people are looking for when they are looking to get this service or this product that I offer as a vehicle wrapping company, right? So we want to talk about, or we want to have on the Google Business Profile as a service, vehicle wraps, right? Not only that, then we want to start talking about the vehicle type. So then we've also got truck, right? Then we can go by make, we can go into Tesla, or you could even go a step further. We can go Cybertruck as well, right? When we do this, we can go even further, right? We can do Porsches, we can do Corvettes, etc. Then we can start getting into doing PDF, or is it's PPF? So we can use the acronym, or we can do, I think it's paint protection film. We can do paint protection film as a service on the Google Business Profile. We can also start doing Tesla, right? So I would go through and I would try to figure out, if this is my vehicle wrapping company, okay, are there certain makes or certain vehicle types that I want a lot of? Do I really like doing trucks? Do I like wrapping boats a lot? Is that one of my main revenue driving sources, right? So when I take it on a client, what we'll go through is we'll talk about, okay, so what is your main revenue driver? What do you want more of? What's the goal here? What do we want our or your Google Business Profile to appear for when people are in search looking for a specific service, right? We don't have to rank for all of them. Let's say there's a particular service or a product that you offer that you are currently getting a lot of leads for, but you would rather have, or rather rank for other services or other products, right? Let's say that you're tired of doing tints. So you will want to rank more for the wraps. This is where you make most, like a majority of your revenue. Then we would come up with a plan and we would set up a campaign to start ranking more for these higher revenue generating sources, like wraps as an example. Or maybe for you, you're in Florida and you want to do more boat wraps. Then we would target that if maybe that's a higher ticket item for you. So for optimizing the Google Business Profile, we want to start listing services We want to start getting some keyword variations by vehicle type, by vehicle make as well. And then behind each of these, we want to add a description. A description is just going to be 2 to 3 sentences behind each. So first you have to list the service. Then once you hit save, then you go behind and you add 2 to 3 sentences describing the service. So if I was starting my own vehicle wrapping company, or I had a current client that had a service area based profile, I would get them off of that as soon as possible. So what happens when you're a service area based profile is whenever someone goes into Google, this is Google's little search box, and they type anything relational to your services, so vehicle wrapping near me, especially when they add this little near me towards the end of the search term, it is going to severely impact where you are placed, how you rank in search for when people are searching for your services or products. So we need to get you off of being a service area based profile as soon as possible. So let me say that again to add even more perspective. So whenever someone searches, they get this 3-pack, right? They get a 3-pack, they get this little map, and then below are links, whatever. When you're a service area based profile, what happens is that there's this little show more button right here. So what's going to happen is you're going to start placing lower and lower, maybe at the 6th position on average, right? You're not going to get to these first or second positions. You're going to, on average, you're going to be way down here. So you're going to get less calls, you're going to get less traffic or less people coming into your vehicle wrapping company. So the first thing that I would do for me, if I was setting it up, or for my clients, is we are going to want instantly to be a verified address Google business profile. So what that looks like is when you go to edit or set up your Google business profile, that show address to customers needs to be enabled or turned on. So now for the vehicle wrapping company, we're going to talk about doing keyword research or building a campaign. So for keyword research, what we need to include is geo or location. Then we need to talk about make. So doing keyword research for a vehicle wrapping company. So if this was my company, I would think about what are my main revenue drivers, or if this was a potential client that was looking to start a campaign, I would first ask them, okay, so number one, where do you make the most revenue currently, right? So this is where I would start. Now, if the client's, I don't really like my main revenue driver, I honestly want to start getting more into boat wraps, or their bread and butter is that they love doing Tesla wraps, right? So this is where I would start looking is what do you want to rank for? What types of leads or types of services do you want to sell more of, right? So for keyword research, I'm first going to start off with, okay, what do I want to rank for, right? Then I would go into Google AdWords and I would start looking at, okay, so how are people searching for these services? Are they just typing in Google wrapping company near me? And then that's what I need to go and target for my on page? Or do people get really specific, right? So they have a Tesla. So maybe they type into Google Tesla wrapping company. What I need to go and do is I need to do all of this keyword research. I need to see, okay, in Google Trends, how are people currently searching? So when someone is looking to do maybe like PPF or paint protection film, how or what do they think of this service? What do they call this, right? Because what can happen is us as the technicians or us as the service providers, we actually know what this is called, right? But we need to figure out is what are people typing into Google? When someone is looking for that service or that product you want to sell more of, you want to rank higher for, I need to go and figure out, okay, what are they typing very specifically in Google? And then from that, I can start to build out the pages, and I can start doing some on-page optimization. But I can't start my on-page optimization if I don't know what they're typing into Google. Because let's say I go and target a keyword, but it's actually a super low ticket and it actually has very low margins, or we barely make any money from it. Why would I want to go and target that? I want to go and find what are people searching for that I want to sell more of in Google. Another thing that's going to have an impact on this keyword research is the geolocation, right? So if I'm more in New Mexico, or if I'm in Cali, if I'm in Arizona, or really anywhere on the West Coast, I'm going to sell more tints. Now, let's say I'm in Florida and I'm on the coast, I'm going to see that I sell more boat wraps, right? So your geolocation, or your geographic area in which you're located as well, is also going to have a huge impact on the keywords or the services that you offer or want to look to offer. And it's going to have an impact on what it takes to rank for those keywords, right? So let's say you are actually nowhere near lakes and you're nowhere near the coast, but for some reason maybe people place a lot of their boats nearby and they also are looking for boat wraps. Let's just say there's an off chance, right? What that means is that the competition is really low because no one else is going to be providing that service because you're nowhere near lakes or you're nowhere near the coast. So that could be another opportunity to pick up on this service basically with zero competition. And so that's another thing to consider. So for doing competitor analysis as a vehicle wrapping company, if I was starting my own, or if I have a client come in and is, hey, I want to start ranking here, like, this is what I would do to look at their competitor analysis. First, I'm going to look at the website, right? What is their current on page? What is their website structure? So what is their internal linking? What services are they currently targeting? Then, is there any gaps, right, in their website for us to have an opportunity to rank for, right? Maybe not everyone has a boat wrapping dedicated page. Maybe they offer the service, but they haven't done the SEO or the work to start ranking for this. And we're currently located in Florida or on the coast, or where this service is in high demand. This gives us an excellent opportunity to start ranking for this. Then not only that, we can look on the website for their backlinks. For backlinks, I'm looking at the number of backlinks, and then I'm looking at referring domains. So this will tell me how strong their SEO campaign is. A majority of the time, what I will find is that the number of backlinks and referring domains from my competitors, from my clients, or from my sites, is that they're going to be usually below 300. And why this number is important is because we can go and submit a press release, which is what I do for all my clients when they start with me. We can go and submit a press release and instantly get 300 to 350 backlinks and referring domains. Depending on the package, you can actually upgrade this, and we can actually get to 3,700. This is if you were wanting to do this, or we were in a super competitive environment where this is necessary. So what we can do is with this press release is we can instantly get to that 300 or 350 referring domains and backlinks so that we can start pushing the website to rank higher. Then for competitors, we're also going to want to look at the Google Business Profile. This is when I will look at the total amount of reviews. Then we're going to look at their primary category. This is when I'll start looking at the photo count, get an idea of like how many we need to start posting. Then I'm going to look at their posts on the profile. Normally, are they? This is more of a yes or no. If it's no, then this is a great opportunity for us. If it's yes, then what is their weekly cadence? Then we're going to look and see, okay, what are their main services on there? Do these have descriptions? And then also, are they linking to all of their social profiles? And then their cadence of posting on these. So that's how I would do a competitor analysis. So next, we're going to talk about the linking structure for a vehicle wrapping company. So for the linking structure for a vehicle wrapping company, what I would do if it was my site or if I had a client coming on, what I would do, and I do this for all my clients, is that we want every page, every URL to be found within 2 to 3 clicks. And what we're going to do to achieve this is that we are going to have hubs. So for me, hubs are going to be something like a services hub, where from the home page, so this is going to be the home page, and this header navigation, which is this top navigation, and you got this footer navigation on the bottom. In the header navigation, we're going to have a link to our services hub, right? So the main point of this page is for when people come by and view to see what services we offer, but also on this, we're going to have links. These little lines here are all links. All of these are going to link to our individual service pages. So if we did wrapping on Porsches as an example, that would have its own page. If we did vehicle wraps, that would have its own page. Truck wraps, that would have its own page. If we did boat wraps, so our services, if we did tints as an example, those are all going to have their own service pages. This is all going to be on our services hub. So another example of this is a blog hub. So when the crawlers, when Google goes to these pages, right, they go to the home page, it finds all the URLs, it follows the URLs to these hubs, it's then going to go to this blog hub, and again, it's going to find all of these links to all of these individual blogs, right? What this does is that it makes it super efficient and super easy for Google, which Google loves, to find all of our pages. This is going to help keep our pages indexed in Google. Indexed in Google means whenever someone searches for tinting or like tent company near me, our service page is going to appear in search in Google when someone searches for it. When your page is not indexed, what that means is that it's not displayed in Google when someone searches. So someone down the street from you searches in Google, tinting company near me, you're not going to appear because that page is not indexed, because you're not linking to it. There's not a proper linking structure. It is not super clean. It is not super efficient on your website for Google to find that page. And this is when you get indexing issues. So for all my clients and for my own websites, I make sure that we have a proper linking structure always, because I want Google to find all of my URLs. I want Google to have multiple instances. I want Google to have multiple attempts, multiple references, links to each of my individual pages, so that all my pages are indexed in Google for whenever someone is searching for my services. My pages, my clients' pages, are appearing in search. So now, blog content for a vehicle wrapping company. Now, if I was starting my own vehicle wrapping company, or if I have someone that's coming to me that wants to be a client, this is what I would do for them. The whole purpose of blog content is for relevance. It is also for authority, and then it's also for geo-relevance. So these are the 3 reasons we make the blog content: to add relevance to our site, to show that our website to Google is relevant to these services and the products that we are wanting to rank in Google when someone searches for tinting company near me or company that wraps boats near me, right? We have all of this relevant blog content on our website, so Google goes and reads all of it and sees, oh, okay, so this entire website is about wrapping vehicles, wrapping boats. From these blogs, I'm then going to link to my services pages, or maybe we have a specific make page. So as an example, we have a Tesla page. This page is to rank very specifically for when people are looking to get their Tesla wrapped. Or maybe we have a Porsche page for when people are looking to get services done that we offer for their specific make or vehicle, right? We can also do Corvettes. We can do BMWs, right? On these make pages, we optimize them so whenever someone searches Porsche wrapping company or Porsche wraps, Porsche paint protective film or paint protection film, that page is ranking. So we add all of this relevant content about why you want to protect the paint on your exotic car, on your Tesla, etc. This also gives us authority because it shows Google that we actually know what we're talking about, right? We talk about what happens when you don't protect your paint, what happens when you chip your paint, how to maintain your vehicle, how to keep the vehicle looking good by doing these wraps or etc., right? Then we also have geographic relevance. What this means is that we're going to talk about the surrounding area. So let's say that I'm located in Pensacola, Florida. I'm going to talk about Pensacola, Florida. When someone is in that area near me, right? So I'm located in Pensacola, Florida. If someone's in Pace or someone's in Gulf Breeze or someone's in Pensacola Beach, because I had all of my geographic relevant content on my page, on my website, Google knows, okay, they're located in Pensacola, Florida. When anyone near them searches for the services or the products listed on the website, then we're going to rank that page in search, right? From all of these, I can link these to my money pages, right? All my relevant content, all my authoritative content, and then all my geographic relevant content are then all going to internally link to my money pages. My money pages are my highest revenue driving sources. So if I do a lot of boat wraps, then that's my money page. I'm going to link to that to rank it, to get it higher in Google. So whenever someone searches for it, I'm in that first position. I'm the first link that they can click. So money pages, whenever I'm building a money page for myself, or if I was starting my own vehicle wrapping company, a vehicle wrapping company is coming into me right now and looking to have me do their SEO for them, like as a client. A money page is a page you want ranking for a very specific term, a very specific service or product that you offer. So let's say that you're located in Arizona, right? And typically on the West End, this is where you'll see a lot of tent services sell a lot because the sun is very heavy over there, right? So then I would create a tent money page, right? So anytime someone is searching locally for that service or that product, I'm doing everything that I can to rank this website's page, this web page, this money page in search. Someone searches for the service, I want this page, this money page ranking. When they click on it, my only goal from that traffic is to convert them to the next process in the sales process. So is it filling out a form? Is it calling the phone number, etc.? Another money page could be, let's say I'm in Florida, right? And I'm in Pensacola, or I'm in Miami, I'm right on the coast, I'm right near the ocean. Then my money page could be for boat wraps. So then I would make my boat wraps money page. So then I would apply all of my SEO on-page optimization to this. I would internally link to this. I would build backlinks in this so that anytime someone is looking to get their boat wrap done, my page, my web page is ranking in that top result. This is a money page. So now for selecting a domain name for a vehicle wrapping company, if this was my own or if this was a client of mine, what I would tell them to do is that we want to get a keyword in the domain name. So what this would look like for me, if it was my vehicle wrapping company, my first name's Chris. So then it would be Chris's wraps, right? Or we can do Chris's, let's say I'm in Arizona and I sell a lot of tint. I could do Chris's tints, right? Either way, we want a keyword in the domain name. We could also do vehicle wraps, or let's say I wanted to target a very specific make or car, so I could do is Tesla wraps, or we could do BMW. We can do a whole bunch of other makes, right? The biggest thing though is that we need a keyword. Actually, we could also do is boat wraps. Now, if you were only looking to do that specific service, boat wraps, and you're not looking to do anything else, then this is what I recommend. But if you're looking to target other ones, like you're going to wrap trucks, you're going to wrap SUVs, etc., then I would not go this specific. I would keep it general, like vehicle wraps or tints. So whenever I'm building a website for a client, or I'm looking at one that my client currently has, I want it to be static HTML forever and always. What happens with JavaScript is that whenever Google or a crawler comes by, this is your web page right here. If this is all Java, what happens is that there are a majority of the time when Google or these other crawlers will come by, these other AIs or LLMs will come by and crawl this page, and they will not have rendering enabled. So what that means is that they are not going to see all of that content displayed on the page, on the website. So if you have gone and done a whole bunch of SEO optimization, but Google doesn't currently have rendering enabled, Google's or other AIs or other LLMs are not going to see that you've done that. Not only that, JavaScript can load the sites slower. So what that means is that you're going to cost these AIs, these LLMs, Google, more money to render the content on your page. They have to crawl hundreds, if not millions, of pages daily. Maybe even trillions of pages, right? They are not going to waste their time or money to crawl your page when they've got to go crawl so many others. So what we want to do is we want to be static with everything that we display to them. What does that mean? When they come by, they're instantly going to see all of the content that is supposed to be displayed on the site instantly. They're not going to have to go through the second rendering process or anything. It is going to load just like that for them, right? Not only that, what happens is that if your site is heavy in Java, or you don't have compressed images, or you've got this giant video that's not optimized as well or compressed, what happens is that your site is going to take anywhere from 3 to 9 seconds to load, right? People are not going to wait that long to see your site. They're just not going to. So what's going to happen is that they're going to close out of it and they're going to go to somebody else's site that loads quicker. So your site speed is not a ranking factor, but it is a conversion rate factor. So that's something you need to consider is how fast is your site loading? If it's not loading very fast, then you're losing a lot of your traffic that could be potential leads. So for doing the on-page optimization for a vehicle wrapping company, what I'm going to look at is my money pages that I want ranking in Google. What is the difference, or what is the delta from preventing these from ranking in search, right? I'm going to compare, okay, so how many times are they using the keyword on page? How many times are they using entities, LSI words, keyword variations? So if I was doing this for my own vehicle wrapping company website, or if I was doing this for my clients, this is what I would do. I'm going to look at what is currently ranking, and I'm going to find the delta, the difference between my page that I want ranking and theirs. Or if I'm building a new page, then I can just see, okay, what does it currently take to rank? And then I can start from there. So I find the delta, I find the difference. Then I'm also going to look at other environments. I'm maybe going to look at other super high populated dense areas to see from really high competitive locations, what are they also doing on their sites to rank for certain keywords or keyword variations, right? I can see what is currently ranking in my local area. Then I can also apply this to other areas. Like I can go to Miami, right? So as a vehicle wrapping company, I can go and see, okay, what are the people in Miami currently doing to rank? Then I can get other ideas on what it takes to rank for this keyword or to rank my money page for the specific product or service that I'm trying to sell, right? Then I can start applying all of these things that I go and find out about. So if I was starting with a client, I would first ask them, okay, what services or products do we want to rank for? Okay, you want to do a lot of boat wrapping. Okay, so then I would go and search what is currently ranking. I would then compare it to our page or your page, and then I would compare it to the competitor's page. So I'd go and find the top 3 ranking websites. I would find all of their ranking factors, their on-page ranking factors. We've got word count, we've got alt text, their schema, entities, the amount of times they're using the keyword. Then we've got keyword density. There's hundreds, if not thousands more, but either way, what I would go and do from these top 3 ranking websites, I would find, okay, what does it take to rank, right? Because Google's already telling us what it takes to rank because it's already displaying things that it thinks should rank in the first place. So then we find out, okay, Google thinks that this is required to rank locally, and then we can also start gathering information from other super competitive areas, like Miami as an example, so that we can also find the difference from locally, what does it take to rank, and then we can also take from Miami, and then we can also get those ranking factors, right, to start placing our site in that first position. And so that is how I would rank a vehicle wrapping company. If you're a vehicle wrapping company, look to rank your business, click the YouTube description and click that link. You'll be taken to my 7-phase roadmap, which will give you all 7 phases that I go through, similar to how we went through in this video, talking about your keyword research, your website structure, and more for free. And then if you want help, at the bottom, there'll be a link to a calendar to book a call.